G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Hope you are having a fantastic time, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and let's just get right into it. Posted by user, the Cornstar Mum, titled, Am I the asshole for not being upset that my friend's dog could die because of me? I was hosting a big garden party at the weekend. I invited my entire friend group plus their partners. One of my friends takes her dog everywhere. I told her no pets were allowed. Although it was a garden party, we were in and out of my home, and I have 4 cats. My cats do not like dogs, and neither do I. Anyway, my friend showed up with her dog. I told her that the dog was not welcome in my home or garden, and I asked her to please take her dog home or elsewhere. I thought my friend left. I went inside to sort some things out. I went into my garden about 15 minutes later, and my friend was standing there in my garden talking to our friends. She doesn't live that close, so I was confused. I went to ask her how she got back so quickly, and she told me she just popped in and was going because her dog wasn't welcome. I asked her where her dog is, and she shrugged her shoulders and said he was around. I went looking for him and found him at the bottom of the garden eating my crops and making a mess. I was angry and told my friend to get her dog off my property. A few hours later, she called me asking what her dog ate. I had no clue. My gardener plants and attends to everything. I told her I didn't know, but told her he'd made a huge mess, dug things up, and clearly had eaten things. She shouted at me that her dog is sick and that I need to find out what the dog ate. I told her I had no idea, but I'd text my gardener to ask, but it really was her problem. I did send the text, but my gardener didn't answer. My friend called again wanting to know what her dog ate, but I told her I still didn't know. She told me I obviously don't care if her dog dies and called me an asshole. I still don't know what her dog ate, but apparently he is very sick and might die. I feel bad, but I told her not to bring her dog on my property, so I don't feel responsible like she says I am. Am I the asshole? Well, legally, that might be a different story, but if you want my opinion on if you're the asshole in this situation, I don't think you are. You personally didn't do anything wrong here. You told her multiple times she can't have the dog over at your house, they're not welcome, that she brought the dog to your house and you repeated that message once again. It's not like you grabbed the dog out of her arms, took it to the garden and shoved vegetables down its throat. That would be a malicious outcome of this situation in which you would be an asshole. But since you avoided doing that, like a normal person, I'm gonna deem you not the asshole. Sucks to be your friend. I know people exactly like your friend that take their dog everywhere, put it down and just go, they'll be around, don't worry about them, they're just gonna do their thing. And that leads to situations like this. Not saying your friend deserves to have her dog die over this, but she was not looking after the dog, she was being negligent, and she wasn't looking out for the dog's best interests. Not the asshole for this one, OP. In the comments, not the asshole. You asked her nicely not to bring the dog, but yet she did. You asked her to leave, but yet she didn't. She wasn't even watching her dog. If the dog dies, it's on her. And don't let her bully you into paying vet bills or anything. Ready up the Uno reverse card and demand she repay you for the damaged crops and garden, but only after the dog dies to amplify the emotional carnage. Not the dog's fault, right? She's a terrible owner. I mostly just feel sorry for the dog having such an irresponsible parent. Your yard wasn't dog safe, but you made it pretty clear the dog wasn't welcome. Your friend ignored that, and it's her dog who almost paid the price for it. Super sad, and you are not the asshole. Your friend is a super duper mega asshole though. She is saying you don't care if her dog dies, but she ought to look at herself. Poor doggo deserves better. The friend actually took the dog off the leash. Who does that at an outdoor party with lots of people, let alone having no permission to even have the dog there? Especially at a home with 4 cats. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt and hope that the cats were indoors, but if you take a dog off the leash, it can easily get indoors. Poor puppy. I hope it's okay. If you take a dog off the leash, it can easily get indoors. If you take a dog off the leash and make no attempt to supervise it, it can get anywhere. Inside, on the road. For Christ's sake, it could have gotten into someone else's yard where it had exactly as much permission to be and eat anything. Gotten in a fight with any animal, person, or child. The friend is a menace to the people and animals around them and deserves to have the dog removed from their house and be fined for animal endangerment. Back up to the post, we have an edit to add. After being unable to reach my gardener, I took pictures of everything the dog dug up, which was a lot, and sent them to my friend. But I have no idea what it ate and what it just dug up, and for all I know, what it ate isn't even pictured because the whole section is a mess. This wasn't good enough for her. She wants me to tell her exactly what it ate, and I just don't know, and I don't want to spend hours trying to figure it out when I don't even know if it can be figured out. Edit to add 2, my cats are house cats. They don't go in my garden and aren't at risk of getting sick from whatever my gardener is growing. My garden is huge, and what is growing changes often, so no, I don't keep track of what is planted. And now, onto the update. I blocked ex-friend after dozens of nasty calls and texts, but I got an update from a mutual friend. The dog is at dog hospital, dog is pretty sick, but is expected to make a full recovery. I managed to contact my gardener eventually. It looks like the dog ate some potatoes or something. A lot was destroyed, so even my gardener isn't 100% sure what was eaten, but he thinks maybe the pesticides were the problem. All info from the gardener was passed to ex-friend. Ex-friend has seen this post and is very angry about it. Everyone say hi to Suzanne. Our next post is by user Steffi Love, titled, "Waited on a bus of 110 children." My manager asked if I could work last night because she needed an extra server to help with a bus of 110 8th graders returning from a field trip. I'm never one to pass on an opportunity to make money, so of course I obliged. My co-workers and I began stocking early to prep for their arrival. When the kids arrived, I noticed that they were all so polite. Each time I would drop off drinks, rolls, or straws, I was met with smiles and thank yous. The kids didn't make much of a mess either. They also asked for trash bags to clean up some of what they had left. One little dude called me over and said, "Excuse me, here's a tip for you." I didn't want to hold on to it any longer. He gave me $10 on his own. So sweet. Overall, my co-workers and I enjoyed working. Edit, wow, I'm so glad you all enjoyed this. Shout out to the parents, teachers, and positive influences in these lovely kids' lives. And now into the comments. How nice. OP says, right? We made good money too. But that is not what we do here. I was drooling from the title, expecting some red meat of obnoxious, entitled behavior. Now, almost believe in humanity again. Geesh, the nerve. My youngest son's school has a social club where they take the kids out once a week to work on real-life social skills. Grocery shopping, dining out, laundromat, ordering at the deli, etc. They start from kindergarten and work up until the 8th grade. It's too bad that stuff like this isn't more mainstream. That's such a great thing. I love that. As a former kindergarten teacher in a small private school, we would teach how to set tables, chop veg, and basically how to be a helpful and decent, caring human. I love that your son's school teaches this. So very useful and helpful for them. It's really great. They also have classes on interpersonal relationships and conflict resolution. Honestly, this stuff should be taught in all schools, not just specialized ones. And now, onto the update. I wrote a thank you letter to the school and included a $200 donation for the students to have a pizza, ice cream, or any gathering of the principal's choosing. The principal was touched. She stated they're going to come back every year and request me. Smiley face. In the comments, I wish I had this experience as a server. We once had to ban a softball team because of their behavior. They were 8th graders and behaved better than a high school softball team. 15 to 22 years old is the worst possible age range in terms of potential behavior in a restaurant. They can be so capable, confident, and energetic, while still somewhat lacking in social awareness, impulse control, and empathy. It doesn't always manifest badly, but in the worst case scenario, they are absolute nightmares. Source, I'm a youth worker. Our next post is by user OK Willingness, titled, I, female 24, recently found out who my daughter's, female 8, father is, and I don't know how to feel. So I've known my husband, male 27, since I was 8, when he moved across the street. He was like an older brother to my twin brother and me because we had no other siblings. My dad was gone a lot because he was a lineman. The only person I really had was my mum. I was kinda rebellious as a teen, and I'd sneak out all the time. At the time, I had never had a boyfriend because everybody was afraid of my brother. When I was 15, I snuck out and went to a party. I don't remember what happened that night, but I woke up in the backseat of my car, covered in a blanket and my jacket over my head. I was hurting and confused, but I continued with life regularly. A few months after, I went to the school nurse because I wasn't feeling well, and she gave me a pregnancy test, and I told her it was impossible because I didn't even have a boyfriend. The test was positive, and I cried because I didn't remember ever doing anything like that. They called my mum, and the nurse told me to tell my mum because she felt like she shouldn't be the one to tell her. I told my mum I was pregnant, but I've never done anything to have a baby. My mum took me to a doctor, and they told her that I was too far along to abort. They told me how far I was along, and I told my mum about how I woke up in the backseat of my car that day. I had my daughter a few months later, and she looked exactly like me. My green-blue eye color, my blonde curly hair, and she even had my full lips. My now husband started to come over more after my daughter was born, and he was so good with her that I started to see him as more than a friend. He bought her clothes, shoes, and toys, and he made sure that she had everything she needed, even though he was a college student. When my daughter was around 3, we started to date. We dated for like 6 months before he asked me to marry him at his graduation party. We got married 4 months after that, and I got pregnant with our first son soon after. Everything was so perfect, but as my daughter grew, I noticed how much she started to look more like my husband. He always says she's his daughter, not stepdaughter, and he'd get mad if somebody tried to correct him. I thought it was sweet that he was protecting her from not knowing who her father was. I recently did a DNA test to see if my gut was right. It turns out my husband is my daughter's father. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what happened. If I ask him if he remembers, how will he react? He has always been so loving and caring. He told me I was his dream girl, and he'd give me the entire world if he could. It's been a week since I got the results, and I haven't said anything. My life is so perfect that I don't even want to ask about it. Edit. I told him the father didn't want to be in her life, and he left it at that. My mum told me to tell people that, so it doesn't seem like I was sleeping around. We didn't have sex while we were dating. His family is really religious, so he told me he saved himself for marriage, and he didn't believe in giving his body to someone that he didn't love. His mum was against us getting married because I had a child, but she eventually came around. That time I woke up in my back seat wasn't the first time, but I stopped going to parties after that time I woke up sore. I called him a minute ago and asked him why does he insist on telling people he's my daughter's father, and he told me that he's been there since she was a baby. Even if her father decided to come back in her life, she will still be his daughter. He's already off work and headed home. Edit 2. My husband just turned 27 last month, so he's 2.5 years older than me, so he was like 17 when this happened in the fall. And now, on to the update. We sat down and talked. I asked him, does he remember the last party that I went to in high school, and he said not really. He said he remembers waking up on the bathroom floor of his friend's guest room, and I was in the bed, and he tried to wake me up, and I told him to leave me alone. He said he didn't want to leave me in some random friend's house, so he carried me home. I asked him, does he remember what I was wearing and what he was wearing? He said he thinks I was wearing a dress or something. He asked why I was asking all these questions. I told him that I was trying to figure out something, and will he help me? And he said okay. I asked again what he was wearing. He said he vaguely remembers asking his friend for some pants because his had throw up on his. I asked, does he know who the father of my daughter is? And he said, no, I guess the guy who got you to stop partying. And I said there was no guy. I stopped because I was kinda scared after I didn't remember that night, and he said a lot of people at that party didn't remember after, and he was one of them. I told him I didn't remember who my daughter's father is, and it happened at that party. He seemed surprised, and he hugged me because I looked like I was going to cry. He offered to take a paternity test, and that he's pretty sure that he is not my daughter's biological father, so he's scheduling one tomorrow. And now, onto the final update. This is my last update. After my husband got the results that he was the father, he broke down and explained how he found me and how bad he felt for not protecting me. He told me how he cleaned me up and took me home. He knew in his heart that he couldn't have done that to me. He asked me about the party afterwards, but I didn't remember and neither did he, so he thought he was protecting me by not telling me. After that, I didn't go out much, and there was a rumor about me having a boyfriend. When he saw that I was pregnant, he didn't feel like it was his place to ask questions about who the father was. He inferred that it was the rumored boyfriend. After I had my daughter, he noticed I was struggling and offered help. I told him what my mother told me to tell people about my daughter's father. He said at first it was to help as a childhood friend, but he started doing more after he started seeing me as more than a friend. He knew that if we started a relationship, he would take in my daughter as his. I showed him my post, and he understood why everyone was telling me to leave, and that he truly didn't remember doing that to me. He feels horrible, and told me he wished he knew so he could have done more. He told me how his stomach sunk when he saw the results, and how much guilt washed over him. He told me I had full power over this, and he had no right to object. I asked him to stay with someone for a while so I could sort my thoughts. He stayed with his parents for a few days and called me daily to make sure that we were okay. I recently found out I was pregnant. We decided to go to couples therapy and individual therapy. We have more than 2 kids. I feel like putting the specific number will be too many details, and someone might be able to tell who we are. We are planning on staying together. I'm still in love with him, and this hasn't changed that. We are going to see if his name can go on our daughter's birth certificate. We will tell our family the details soon. I feel like my brother will react like everyone here did, mostly because he was against us getting married, and even though they were best friends, he completely cut communications with him when we started dating. I know this wasn't the update that a lot of people were hoping for, but I'm going to do what makes me happy. I'm aware I probably shouldn't have posted this. At the time, I wanted to vent, and this seemed like a convenient place to do that. Thank you everyone for your concern. In the comments, L'Oreal Nick says, "The one time we're getting a positive match between husband and child in a DNA test is the bad ending. I wonder if someone drugged some of the food or alcohol at the party, if it really was a bunch of people that didn't remember what happened." Yeah, that was going through my head. It wouldn't exactly be unknown for some young idiot to have thought that it would be cool to spike the punch or something, and if that's true, then OP's husband is likely just as much a victim as she is. He remembers being the hero that took care of her, but not the part where he assaulted her. That seems a little convenient to me. Yeah, that's my take too. I feel just like the other commenters here who hope that one of the kids spiked the punch, but it's way too convenient that he remembers being a hero in detail, but not assaulting her? Not even a smidge of memory? I just don't believe it, but I sincerely hope from the bottom of my heart that her husband is telling the truth. Does the brother know something? That's the first thing that came to mind when hearing that the brother cut off communication when they started dating. Yeah, but I've also heard of brothers doing that when friends started dating their female siblings, especially younger, so it could be a case of that and not anything more sinister. Or just maybe he was overprotective and didn't like his friend dating his sister and only close family, I guess. She said herself her brother scared boys off when they were teenagers. If he's hot-tempered and stubborn, it could look like any "am I the asshole? My brother won't talk to me because I married his best friend." I would not condemn, like some other commenters in your post, not you, someone, I don't know, for something that big based on only a few lines. He absolutely knows something. He knows what happened that night. He knows what OP's husband did. He probably didn't tell OP because he felt it wasn't his place and that she wouldn't believe him if he did. But if he knows what happened that night, why wouldn't he cut him off before that? Why wait until they're in a relationship? Well, obviously this is all just assumptions, but I have a feeling that maybe he didn't know initially or just was in denial because, finding out someone who you grew up with did that to someone you consider family would be really hard to accept, and the husband eventually told him, and he kept pushing husband to tell OP. And then when OP and husband started dating, he realized there wasn't any point and just cut his losses. And if he knew but didn't have proof, would anyone ever listen to him? OP needs to reach out to him for more information. So he made sure to cover her up with a blanket when he was done with her, even though he was blackout. So he made sure to cover her face while he was taking advantage of her, even though he was blackout. He covered her face so she wouldn't recognize him, just in case she woke up. I feel so bad for her. Her husband is clearly lying. I have a feeling that he baby-trapped her since she is his dream girl, and he can come in and save the day and help raise her daughter. Well, that was a very dark conclusion to that story. I don't know what to say besides I'm shocked and not very happy to hear how this concluded. I understand that I am not the person writing this story, but I would hope that if I were OP in this situation, I would leave him and get some therapy and try and move forward from this situation, but not stay with someone like that. I personally believe that he is lying here. Because how can you so clearly remember being a hero but not remember anything else? That doesn't add up to me. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user OakCool, titled, "Am I the asshole for not getting my wife anything on Mother's Day? I, 34 male, did not buy or get anything for my wife on Mother's Day, and let me explain why. My wife and her friend planned a trip to the beach for 4 days, which fell on Mother's Day. So I thought to myself that since I'm watching the kids while she's gone, that would count as a gift since she wouldn't be there to celebrate that day and would get home that night on Mother's Day. She gets home and realizes that I didn't do anything for her and later tells me that she is upset and message was received loud and clear. I tried to explain my reasoning and thought process, but she didn't agree. So, am I the asshole? Yes? She came back at nighttime on Mother's Day while it was still Mother's Day, and you didn't do anything for her, and she's a mother, and it seems as though there was a precedent set in your relationship that she gets gifts on Mother's Day, so you don't really have a good excuse for this one. You're just an asshole, OP. In the comments, Encartris says, "You're the asshole. Taking care of the kids should be part of your regular duties, not a present/gift. Why do dads think that caring for their own kids deserves special recognition? We need to stop handing out gold stars for mediocrity." So, I don't know if I get this. If I went on a 4-day trip and left my kids with my wife for the whole time, I would consider that a huge gift. Watching the kids is both of our jobs, so if one of us were to hand off those duties for half a week so the other had to do double, that's a lot of work. If the genders were reversed, would you still say this? Reverse the genders and most people wouldn't bat an eye. There's this expectation that taking care of the kids is mum's job and a dad's choice. Dads tend to get brownie points for occasionally doing what mums do on a daily basis. I'll never forget the time my husband was deemed Father of the Year by a group of women for simply having braided our daughter's hair and taking her trick-or-treating, things I had always done as a matter of course. I rolled my eyes at the watching the kids as a gift part. Are you implying that you'd have made your wife take the kids with her had it not been Mother's Day? If yes, you're the asshole. If no, then you're the asshole for making yourself feel good about an empty gift. I still think that it's a moderate you're the asshole, but watching kids entirely by yourself for 4 days is definitely a gift to your partner. My wife and I give each other until noon on the respective Father and Mother's Day as a present, but we still do cards, and the kids will do things too. We also do take mini vacations like this, but there is a mutual appreciation for that time. Yeah, and my husband travels for work and taking care of the kids and everything else in the house for 4 days is a pain in the ass. It's exhausting. I would have at least had the kids draw a picture or get a card though. It's still not a gift. Having kids means choosing to do this. If you know your husband travels for work, then it's not a gift to him to watch the kids when he's gone. It's the deal you made when having kids. I get it, it's exhausting, but it's not a gift. I'm speaking as a parent who frequently is alone with 2 kids. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.